What is up, everyone? Today we're going to talk about marathon prep week 1 and 2. I mentioned at the very beginning that I was following Mark Sisson's Primal Endurance program. With that, the first few weeks are super boring, but so I can explain it, let's go to the desk. You know what? I decided against the desk. Let's use white wall instead. The Primal Endurance plan has a lot to do with building your aerobic capacity, which means doing long-term exercise at a specific heart rate. One thing that I noticed when it came to researching endurance athletes was that there is a big thought process of I just need to suffer and then suffer longer and go on these long excruciating runs, and eventually my body would get used to it. The Primal Endurance philosophy is, instead of let's push ourselves as hard as we can and suffer through these long runs to eventually increase my capacity, let's slowly increase the capacity so we work up to the long runs and they're not extremely difficult while we're doing it. Basically, we're trying to build the engine and then drive a long distance, not try to build the engine by driving a long distance, if that makes sense. Kind of. I will put a link to Primal Endurance in the description below. It's on Audible, so if you don't feel like reading, you can actually listen to it. Checking in at weeks 1 and 2 is pretty boring. My current running plan doesn't have anything to do with distance right now. It has to do with time and heart rate. I'm trying to keep my overall heart rate inside of my aerobic threshold, which for me is 151, and I'm basically just building up my body's capacity to work at or under that heart rate. And so I started at a half hour, and every week I gain 10% on my time, and overall the goal is to eventually start getting quicker throughout those times, so I'm not only going to increase my time running, but also my speed. Because running was such a weak point for me, I actually decided to treat this like I was starting a brand new sport, so I'm taking a lot of time to focus on my mobility of my lower body, as well as making sure that the structure of my ankles, knees, and hips were in the proper positions. My typical training week is running Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tuesday and Thursday I do a weight training session with some yoga afterwards. Saturday is an off day, and Sunday we go hiking. Because it's winter in North Dakota, my hiking is the exact same thing as my running basically, except I wear a heavy backpack on my treadmill. In the near future, I'll bring you to the dungeon, aka our home gym, which is just our basement with a whole bunch of fun stuff set up. I wanted to use these first couple episodes just so you got to know what I was up to. It would be very boring watching me run on a treadmill for a half hour. So next week we're going to talk about my mobility plan, what I'm doing to make sure that my feet, hips, and knees are working the way that they're supposed to, in the right directions that they're supposed to. Before we started this journey, I was a very inefficient runner. I really didn't enjoy it. After spending the time in researching running and how to do it properly, I've actually started to like it. And once I started incorporating proper technique and proper body placement, my running has gotten way more efficient, and I'm able to go for a lot longer without pain. Well, that went out. Well, fine. Do what you want, light. That is the end of check-in number 1. It's Tuesday today, so I'm going to head home, do some kettlebells and some yoga. Tomorrow I run again, and we will see you next week.